Hey guys, put some in 945 here. Welcome back to another video. This is going to be one of my much more randy videos because I don't really have a time. Oh, maybe makes this video not very long, but um I this is gonna be one of my much more ranty videos because I don't even really have a clear idea of the specific thing I want to talk about in this video, but what I am going to be talking about is I'm going to be talking about 20th Century Boys. Which is my second favorite manga, and currently, I am debating about whether or not it actually will go above One Piece in my top 10 fiction list. Because it is a fucking masterpiece of a work. Um, I've read enough, like even before the new volumes that I ordered and the stuff that I had read this morning, I was already able to say that it was my it was my favorite thing of Naoki Urasawa's work. Um because, I'd read enough even before I ordered more volumes to say that like 20th Century Boys was better than Monster. After reading up through volume 7 of the Perfect Edition, which combines two volumes into one. So basically, I'm 14 volumes done in the whole manga at this point. Um, and after finishing the that volume 7 of the Perfect Edition, I can definitely say firmly that Naoki Urasawa is my favorite author in fiction. Um, and yeah, I'm just going to rave about 20th Century Boys. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but yeah, this is just what I'm going to be doing. Um, and uh, I guess to start with, um, why I was really hooked into the story is just the idea behind it is so fucking creative. Like the idea of basing an entire fucking apocalypse story and like sci-fi adventure around like a childhood story is it's such a creative idea, and it's so fascinating like what Urasawa can do with all of these elements, like as if Monster already wasn't an interesting enough premise for one of his works. Like this idea of just taking a children's story and like using that to create a grander narrative is such a um fascinating and um it's such a cool fucking idea. um and every single one of the characters is just incredible. I love Kenji. I love him as a hero. I love his like honest, down to earth qualities. And like it's so interesting to like compare um Kenji to different like protagonists throughout Urasawa's other works. Like comparing him to Dr. Tenma it's insane, like the difference. Like obviously both are like kind-hearted people, but like the values of both of them are so different, and yet they are both such compelling protagonists. It's so like, you know, deservedly so. And I will talk about this in a moment. Deservedly so. Um, Much of Urasawa's praise comes from his incredible ability to write some of the greatest villains in fiction, and yet at the same time, I don't hear him praised nearly enough for being able to do the same exact thing with protagonists. Because, like, um, Kenji is such an incredible protagonist. He's such like a nice and wonderful character that seems to connect with every other character, and as a result, it creates great relationships between them. And I honestly fucking love so much the way that um no matter what like point in the story it is, it always manages to keep that core group of friends together. Like Yukiji, Yoshitsune, Maruo, Ocho, the fact that, like, even in their old age in 2014, they all managed to reunite and, like, stay as this core, it's basically like a family. At a certain point, with how Yukiji considers Kana her daughter and whatnot. And speaking of, like, obviously Kana is not, like, the main protagonist. That's Kenji, but like Kana is kind of like the protagonist for the entire second half of the story, essentially. And the way that she kind of takes Kenji's values, but like it's kind of portrayed through a different lens is so interesting. And again, it just it's proof to me that like Urasawa can write such incredible protagonists. Um, um, Now obviously, as I mentioned earlier, you cannot talk about Urasawa in any goddamn capacity without mentioning how he writes villains. And holy moly, friend is such a genius concept for a villain. Um, because number one, you have something that you can very easily base a mystery around, which just gives Urasawa, as I'll talk about in a little bit, like it just gives him the ability to dive right into the fucking meat of what he does best, which is crafting a brilliant and compelling mystery and narrative. Um, so not only is Urasawa able to do that with Friend in 20th Century Boys, but like at the same time, um, what he's able to do is make Friend seem like um not only this extremely omnipresent figure, but also like an extremely complex character that has like extremely close ties to the main characters. And um and once again, I think that in a very similar way to Monster, but in my opinion done even better in 20th Century Boys in this aspect is the way that um Urasawa like develops his villains by having by developing the character of secondary antagonists and how they relate to the main villain. You see this done with Manjume Inku, a fantastic secondary antagonist in himself, mind you, who for a lot of other stories could have probably carried as a perfectly compelling normal villain, but no, that is not enough for Urasawa. He is too much of a damn genius for that to be enough. Um, you could just do that, or you could do Sadakiyo, which is like insane enough as is. Um, because Sadakiyo, even though there was like almost nothing about him explored until like volume 6. And initially it was kind of suggested that he might be the friend before it's revealed to maybe be Fukube or it might be someone else. I'm gonna rave about the other stuff that I just learned in a little bit. um, when I get to like the plot twist part. But like even if Fukube does not end up being friend himself, and it ends up being something different, or maybe there were like two friends, or whatever the fuck is going on with that. Um, then I think that that just makes friend all the better of a villain to me because of the way that he would be characterized through characters like Fukube and Sadakiyo, both of which are characters that, like, despite having barely any exploration, it feels like, at just the right time in the narrative, and this is a good transition, it feels like at just the right time in the narrative, there is information injected about them. And that leads me on to the best part of 20th Century Boys, and quite frankly, easily Urasawa's biggest strength, even beyond villain writing, is the way that he constructs narratives. Now, when I finished Monster, granted, crazy enough as it sounds, that was almost 2 years ago. So I wouldn't blame you if you've never seen my original review of when I finished Monster, because um, I watched Monster very early on in my anime watching um streak. So that video is much older. Um but like in that video I talk quite extensively, and I will talk quite extensively here, about Urasawa's biggest strength is the way that he constructs mysteries and narratives. And we're not talking about character development here. I think we've already pretty established why Urasawa is a goddamn genius at that in 20th Century Boys. Um, what I'm talking about is the way that the actual events unfold and how, like, character development is done throughout that and how it relates to other parts of the plot. Because from the very beginning, um, in 20th Century Boys, there is a fascinating idea for the story, which I just talked about. There is um a fantastic villain to build the mystery around. There is, at just the exact right moments, there is different cuts and between the different decades, which at just the right moment seem to reveal crucial information. Um, And I think the thing in particular that deserves the most credit about the way that Urasawa constructs his mysteries, and specifically the main plot in 20th Century Boys, is the fact that um even more than Monster, I feel like due to the grander scale of the story in 20th Century Boys, in my opinion, it kind of feels like there are a lot more unanswered questions that seem to pop up and appear. And with that happening, it is all the more crucial that information and answers to those questions is delivered to the audience at the right time so that it makes sense in the plot. Um and where many, many, many lesser stories would completely fail at this. Um, 20th Century Boys fucking excels at it because Urasawa just has this knowledge for when an unanswered question needs to be answered immediately. And when that answer can kind of be split into two or three or five different answers before you get the full answer together. Um, so like for an example of what I'm talking about, an example of a question that it gives you that it instantaneously answers. When Yoshitsune is on the phone with Sekiguchi Sensei, asking about who bent the spoons. You have to wait like maybe a couple of pages before you find out that that was Fukube because it is correlated to the reveal that Fukube was friend all along. Maybe. um, I'll talk a little bit about that at the end. Um, but you know, just for clarity's sake, we're gonna stick with that for right now, just for simplicity and how I'm trying to demonstrate my point. Um, and um, versus an example of where the answer is very much pieced out gradually is the kind of mystery involving Kiriko, Yamane-kun, and the whole virus. And how it's like initially revealed that um what's my train of thought? It's initially revealed that Kiriko, Kana's mother, was the one that supposedly actually made the virus. But then we find out there's a lot more depth to that. And Yamane was actually the one that created it, and Kiriko probably helped in some way, but she deeply regretted it and it was like urging him to like make a vaccine. And she was the ultimate reason that Yamane ended up turning on the friends because of the fact that he incited doubt in his actions. And that was a very slow build up to a reveal, um which I love how it like challenged the reader expectations. I think that that's such a ballsy thing to do, and yet 20th Century Boys does it so many fucking times. And again, I will remind you, I'm not even close to the end of this. Well, okay, I'm pretty close. Um, have like 4 volumes left of the manga, so still a good amount to go. But I made good progress. But like, there is still a fuck ton more of the plot to go, and I'm able to say all this just based on this now. Um, and speaking of the stuff that I just finished reading, this is where true rant mode comes into question. This is mostly like me. talking aloud and airing my thoughts about rather than specific opinions about how peak 20th century voice is. Um, I am so confused. I didn't think that Friend would die. I really didn't. But like, now I am completely confused as to whether Fukube is the friend or it's someone else who showed up wearing the symbol as the mask in the Friendland virtual game. Um, and how that connects to um like the lie of 1971 and everything like that. Um, and I truly honestly have no idea. I'm not like thinking any theories because I legitimately have no fucking idea. Um, and yeah, that's the end of that. So yeah, um, read 20th Century Boys. If I haven't like spoiled, well, if you've already watched this video, then you're kind of cooked because I spoiled a lot in this video, which like I normally do in my videos. So but yeah, that is gonna do it for this video. Read 20th Century Boys. It's fucking peak masterpiece, whatever the fuck you can say. It's all of those. And yeah.